So anyone can do static work. If you have a compliant partner and you want to move them and they let you do whatever you want to do to them, it's very easy to work on somebody. It's not so easy when they're moving and they're unpredictable. So in karate, often we practice moves, right? We go into a set, we go into a specific move, and we think that's going to work. I learned a ton of throws and locks when I first started karate, and I was really good at them against people who let me do them. And then I started working against people who didn't, and they failed because I was always a step behind. I was trying to do a move, and I would go to do that move, and that guy would move ahead of it, and then it would fail, and then I'd try and create another move in my head, and it didn't work. So let me give you the secret of how to make them work. How you make them work is, remember, the move is unimportant. It doesn't matter. The process getting there is important. If I'm going to throw somebody, this is the great karate throw, right? The nose one where you pull them over the leg. That is crap. It doesn't work because he's letting me do it now, and if he was really strong, he would fight it. Why that works in real life is not because I tried to do a move, because I moved his center of mass. Right there. See how he's off balance? At that point, I can really do anything to him I want. Every time someone grabs you, or they get into you and you want to throw them, the important part is not trying to do the throw. The important part is to cut their balance so that when you do the throw, it gets easier. So for example, if he grabs me and pulls in and I try to throw him, that's going to be very hard. But if he pulls me and I walk into, see right there, see how like I used my mass to off balance? Now I can really do whatever I want at that point. What happens is he has a center he wants to maintain for strength and balance. But if you spend time learning how to cut him in a way to where wherever they cut you, wherever he moves, and you take his balance from him and tip him, at that point all these moves get very easy. And you'll find they happen. But what happens is people do this in reverse. They want to go in and apply a move. But if you don't off balance him first and wreck his structure, the move doesn't work. I read this in a Keto book once somewhere, where they talked about how the founder was so good at off balancing people and shifting them around and putting them into a position to where their balance was terrible, so when he went to throw them, it was easy. And then after he died, many of his students tried to take his moves and standardize them. And what happened was, not all of them, there's some very good at Keto, I'm not picking on everybody, but a lot of them, what they do is they focus more on trying to do the move than they focus on the idea of why the move worked in the first place. So when you're doing karate throws, you have to, don't get me wrong, you have to learn the idea of how to come in, place, position, and move them. Right? All these motions, you have to learn how to do them properly. But after you get into that, what you have to do is you have to learn to understand, okay, it's a lot less important that I try to do that move, and that how do I put my mass on him to disrupt him first? See how he tipped? Look at his center. I can do anything to him I want at this point because he just doesn't have any balance. Now, he's relaxed. He's going down nicely. There are guys who are very tight. But even then, say he tenses up really hard. See how he may not bend the same way, but look at him go on one foot. Once he goes on one foot, even if he's tight, you can move him. Also, problem karate is we want to do the move, right? This is one of the biggest flaws I see in all martial arts. Is we go into a move, we go to do it, it starts to fail, and so instead of adapting and going to something else, we go, I'm going to do that move no matter what. Because I practice that move and I like that move and that's what I want to do. So after you get into this and you go into an off balance, if you go to do it, it fails, so what? Now we're going to hit and move and do what we do, and I'll go into another one. It's irrelevant. So keep in mind, it's very important that this happens. Right? You're always shifting in. You're always trying to take its space. You're always trying to ruin its structure so that when you go to do this motion, it's much easier. Or you can go back and do your forms exactly as you were told. Try and do those static moves over and over and over again on people who will let you do them, and then wonder why they fail when they don't. Destroy their structure. That's number one. Always destroy structure. It will make everything else you do so much easier.